Hi, my name is Dan Takacs. I'm a neurodivergent, non-binary Jewish director, playwright, and screenwriter from Oberlin, Ohio, currently living and working in Boston. When I went to college, I felt guilty about going, which is not a normal thing for a kid to feel. I knew that I was leaving my sisters in a precarious financial and emotional situation. You see, they were in the care of my mom, who was very mentally ill and financially unstable, and I knew that leaving them would be difficult for them. And as a parentified child, I never quite shook the feeling that I had made a mistake. So I took that feeling and I synthesized it into a story. I want to transmit that feeling to you. So this is a story called Be a Mensch that I wrote into a play, which is premiering off-Broadway on July 23rd. And it is about a young man named Abe Golden who gets into his dream college with a full ride, and he intends to go. But he needs a small fee to enroll, $4,000, and he has to beg the adults in his life for this money, and they have no intention of letting him escape. And so he manipulates, he borrows, he begs, he cajoles his way towards this money, all the while coming closer and closer to the final test. Can he abandon his family, or does he need to be a mensch? Does he need to stay, give up happiness to be a good person? And so in the end, that's what he does. He ascends to become the patriarch of this little family, and he gives up on his dream. So I wrote this because I wanted the audience to feel the feeling that I had when I was living in an unstable situation and had difficult choices to make. So this is a play about poverty. This is a play about people who have to make desperate, difficult decisions in the face of impossible circumstances. I wanted somebody to come away from the play understanding why anyone would choose poverty, why they would recapitulate the cycle of destitution and abuse that they were so desperately trying to escape from, like what that choice feels like. And I wrote it for another purpose. There is a myth that Jews are in control of the levers of society, control great wealth and power. And this was the very opposite of my understanding of Judaism. I grew up very far away from those levers, and the people I knew were middle to low class immigrant Americans struggling to make it in a capitalist country. So this play does a second thing, which is it attempts to dispel this propaganda that Jews are in some way privileged, as opposed to coming from a minority group that is repressed and needs liberation as much as any other group. This is my perspective on the issue, and I think that these kinds of stories viscerally tell the audience a truth that needs to be heard right now. I was raised conservative. My parents were descendants of, my dad comes from Romania. So his parents fled communist Romania because Jews were not welcome there. And my mom came from Holocaust survivors. So my booby, Helen, was in Belgium, and she was one of the hidden children. She was taken from her family and hidden in various monasteries and farms through her childhood until she could finally make it to America. So I come from a long line of Jews who were persecuted by the Nazis and by other majority groups, and I see it as the continuation of this intergenerational trauma we are still all experiencing, that we go through this together. That said, I went to a Jewish school when I was young, and so I learned my Hebrew and I learned my prayers, and I find the rituals very comforting, and I find the mythology of the Old Testament to be a very rich basis for creating modern myths. Just as someone might make a Jesus parable if they were a Christian, I am interested in Moses and Josiah and Abraham and Isaac. Be a Mensch references Abraham several times. The main character's name is Abe. And the sacrifice of Isaac, for example. So this is my Jewish background. I am proud of who I am, and I'm proud to be raising Jewish kids. And I am excited about the prospect of sharing this story, this new modern myth, with you and with anyone else who will listen. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.